Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the electric vehicle market because it has changed a massive amount over the course of the last month. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So let's talk about the electric vehicle market because this is absolutely fascinating. Whether or not you own an EV or are in the market for an EV, it's still very interesting information. So 1.2 million new EVs were sold in the 2023 sales year. That's a record. That is the first time that EVs have ever seen over 1 million units sold in the US market. Tesla is still 55% of that, so they still dominate the EV market. Even though they've lost market share, they're still a very big part of the overall market. Now, the next thing that is fascinating is the market share. So that's a 7.6% market share. So that is an increase for the EV market. And then the last thing is going to be who is buying electric vehicles. So about 60% to 75%, depending on the source that you look at, which I think is weird that there's such a big discrepancy between the sources, have an annual income of over $100,000. So most EV buyers with new EVs make over $100,000 per year. And the other thing is that the EV market is predominantly a male market. There's not as many female buyers compared to male buyers. It's one source states that, and this comes from InsideAdvancedTransportation.com, they state that 75% of electric vehicle buyers are male, which I think is pretty, or actually they say middle-aged men. That's funny. That is interesting. But anyways, the EV market on the surface looks like a market that is going through a huge growth phase. But the next stat is not necessarily the best for the EV market, and that comes from Hertz. So they just sold about 20,000 EVs out of their fleet. I think that was about a 50% share of their electric vehicle fleet. And they have stated, and other rental car companies have stated, that they are pulling back on EVs because they are too expensive to maintain, and the damages that happen to them happen more often and are more expensive to repair than their traditional ICE counterparts, which is obviously not what you want as a rental car company, right? You want to make sure that you buy the cars for the least amount of money, rent them out for the most amount of money, and then, have the least amount of running costs. So the EVs haven't been as affordable as they expected. Now, everything that I just went over, except for the Hertz thing, was a 2023 thing. 2024 has already started, and EV sales haven't fallen off of a cliff, but they are not increasing. So now I'm going to pull out a stat from my own channel. I did a survey. Now, I do want to mention that I find this survey to be very compelling because for a survey to be considered legit, you have to have 1,000 people participate, right? That's most surveys. In my survey, I had over 11,000 people participate. Now, this survey, right, it didn't have anything that would make people not answer honestly. I asked a simple question. What powertrain are you most interested in with your next vehicle purchase? 17% of people said diesel. 53% said gas, 16% said hybrid, 7% said plug-in hybrid, and 7% said fully electric. Now remember, the electric vehicle market share right now is 7.6%. 7% of people in the survey said that they would be interested in a full electric vehicle. And this is where I will kind of dive a little bit into the anecdotal side of things. I have seen a huge pullback with fully electric vehicles in terms of the interest. What it looks like now is there are more people that own an electric vehicle than there are people that are interested in buying an electric vehicle. For most of the time, there was slightly more people interested than people that owned, and now it seems like it's flipped. And that is happening for a number of reasons. First off, I mean, you look at all of the blackouts happening in California, for example, because their infrastructure cannot handle charging fully electric vehicles. I thought it was so funny. I remember that week where they released the statement saying that we want to be fully electric by 2035, right? No more ICE-powered cars sold by 2035 in California. And then the next week, they asked people to basically pull back on their power usage because the grid couldn't support charging all of these electric vehicles, right? It's one of the funniest things ever. And so between, these blackouts in certain areas in the US because the infrastructure cannot handle all of these electric vehicles, and the next thing, which is resale value, it has pushed a lot of people out of the market. Resale value with electric cars is absolutely abysmal. It is the worst in the car market. There is nothing that depreciates faster than an electric vehicle. Even Range Rovers, for goodness sakes, hold their value better than fully electric vehicles. What I am seeing, you know, and again, there are some cars that kind of buck this trend a little bit, but for the most part, with most electric vehicles, you can expect in the first year to see depreciation of about half of the car's value. Half, not, you know, 10% once you drive off the lot. 50%. And that was before the used car market was flooded with all of these cars from Hertz and from Enterprise that they're getting rid of from their electric vehicle fleets. And so that surely will tank the values even more. And this is anecdotal, but I can tell you, as soon as that was announced, I talked to some of the dealers that I filmed for, and what they told me is that they will not take an electric vehicle in as a trade-in because of that situation. Because, again, the electric vehicle values have already been extremely volatile. I mean, over the last year, with electric vehicle prices on the new side declining by 20%, pushing down the used car prices, a lot of dealers got burned on that. And so now, with dealers seeing all of these rental EVs going on the market, they don't want to get burned again. So they either won't buy them, or they will only buy them if they are buying them for significantly under market. Just to give you an idea of the buy bids that you will see on electric vehicles moving forward, especially on Teslas, it will be, you know, in a normal car, you know, you've got retail value, you've got trade-in value. Most dealers will typically offer a little bit below trade-in value because, you know, they want to try to make some money on the car. Well, with electric vehicles in today's market, they will not be offering anywhere near trade-in value. What dealers have told me is that, you know, just for things to make sense based on the depreciation they expect to see with electric vehicles, they plan on offering thousands and thousands below trade-in value. I mean, you're talking 10, 20% below trade-in value, like not even, you know, salvage title auction value on some of these electric vehicles. Again, it's going to depend on the model, the year, the mileage, all of that. But this is not good news for the electric vehicle market, because this means that people that already own cars are going to see even bigger depreciation. I mean, I hear stories all the time of people that bought Teslas prior to the price cuts, and now, you know, they're driving a car that they paid $60,000, $70,000 for, and it's only worth $20-something thousand. Now, if these people were millionaires, they would probably be able to afford that. But again, you look at the average EV owner, right? They're making over $100,000. That sounds like a lot of money, but I should have looked up this statistic before I did this video. But I remember seeing a statistic that, you know, somewhere around like 40 to 60% of people making over $100,000 live paycheck to paycheck. So these people don't have the money to be able to offset the depreciation they have experienced. They can't afford, you know, the 50%, 70% depreciation in some cases on these electric vehicles. And so you can understand why these people are not going to want to go electric with their next purchase. Because, again, the infrastructure, not just the charging infrastructure now, we're just talking about our electric grid. The electric grid cannot support electric vehicles, at least that's what it looks like, right? When you see the rolling blackouts and you see them. I mean, I saw something the other day that was like, hey, turn down your thermostats from 72 down to 65 so that you can conserve power, so there can be more power for people to power their electric cars. I mean, just ridiculous stuff, right? And so with all of that, people are going back into traditional, you know, internal combustion engine cars, hybrid cars. Plug-in hybrids, I think those are kind of going with electric vehicles because of the plug-in hybrid aspect side of things. And so it's a mess. And that's why this video was kind of a mess, because the electric vehicle market is a mess. So do whatever you want, right? If you're watching this video, chances are that you're an adult, and so you can make your own decisions. But if it were my money, I would not touch any electric vehicle, new or used. I just don't think it makes any sense, because, yeah, the used ones might start to look enticing because of the depreciation, but every single time that, you know, the market has thought that the depreciation has ended, something else comes out of the woodworks and causes them to depreciate more, right? Last year, it was, just before last year, sorry, it was the used car market went down, and they're like, okay, well, now this is it. Electric cars aren't going to go down in value anymore. And then price cuts from Tesla and other automakers came through, and then the depreciation increased. And everyone's like, okay, that's it. Now electric cars, the used market, it's settled. And now we have all these used electric rental cars flooding the market. And so it's just like one thing after another. And so who knows what the next thing is going to be, if there is going to be another next thing. But like, I just wouldn't chance my finances with that. And again, with the rolling blackouts and all that kind of stuff that are starting to happen in different places in the nation, I also wouldn't chance my ability to travel with that as well. I just don't think it's worth it. Let me know what you guys think about this electric vehicle situation, but I think that this is the beginning of the end for the, you know, wide scale adoption of electric cars. I think this is going to push things back a very long time, and I think we're going to see automakers dive more into the smaller displacement, turbocharged engines, and then, you know, hybrid powertrains. I think hybrid powertrains are going to become really big. The market speaks for itself, and people will buy what people are going to buy. You know, the government and everything, they can release all the incentives they want, but ultimately the market will decide what the market decides. I'll see ya.